everybody. Happy Sunday. It's been a nice day. Been little cooler today. It sounds like it might be kind of warm this week, so I don't like hot weather very well. I'm I like it inside where it's cool in the air conditioning, so been a beautiful day though. So how is everybody today? Oh my goodness, all of a sudden everybody said something. Look at there. Hello. Hi, Ellen. Hi. Oh, Shannon's here. Mary's here. Deb's here. Pat's here. How is everybody tonight? Now my phone's going to start up. My phone is kind of noisy. Makes lots of noises. So we had a family cookout. That sounds like fun. Hello, came in from the pool. Oh, that's good. It's probably warmer where you are, right, Cindy? So anyway, we're going to work on these little ornaments tonight. This was something I thought, this would be fun to do. Just something we needed, something Christmassy. So I thought, well, I'm going to try something that I've never done before. And I'd seen some of these little ornaments and I just thought they were cute. So anyway, we're going to make these little felt ornaments tonight and learn, oh, it's 85. That's nice then. It's about what it is here too. Who's excited for this? I'm so excited for this. Oh, Shannon. Okay, so I put this design. If you don't have the software, I have the design. Sorry, my nose itches. It's kind of, we've been having some pollen and stuff, so I always have trouble. Hi, Lynn. So these little ornaments, I put this little guy, this little gingerbread man, up on the group. So it's in the first post on Sew Along with Jan under the software, and it's under the Puffy Felt Christmas Ornament. Okay, so I put the design. So if you don't have the software, you can just go sewing. I've got the little PES file, so you can go ahead and sewing. And I put a little ribbon on the top, and I put some little twine for his little bow. And but anyway, I used the graphic actually that I used for my. I made a couple of them. I used the graphic that I used for my Marion, the May Your Days Be Merry and Bright quilt. So this is the little gingerbread man that I drew for the Merry and Bright quilt. So that's what we're going to use tonight. It was a coloring book page or something. So that's what we're going to draw around to get the shape there. And then I'm going to show you a couple things about like, we're going to do, some drawing. And then we're also going to use the outline tool in the software. Hi, Diane. And the software tool, we're going to do a little drawing, so we'll draw in the little icing lines and the little hearts and use some of the tools. Okay. So it's a lot of fun to do these. They're not hard to do. And then when you sew them out, I wrote out in that same download where there's the graphic, the PES, the C2S, and then also the instructions on how to sew it. So I just wrote some brief instructions about how to sew it. It's very simple. And I used felt. I used kind of brown felt. Okay. So, and you put the back on, and then there's some of that puffy foam in there, some of that, the foam base that gives it more body. So they hang nice. So, okay. All right. So I thought this was a cute little project. I just was trying to think of something fun. It's fair week. It's always hot. No kidding. I know. Yeah. The fair starts this coming week, doesn't it? It always does. I think the day the fair starts, it's supposed to be 100 degrees. It's either raining or boiling during the fair, the state fair. So, okay. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and I need to share my screen. So if you give me a minute, I'm going to share my screen, and then I'll make sure that I turn off my picture this time. So remind me if I don't, okay? A second here. I got to get the share button on, share my screen, share the entire screen. Okay. So there's my shared screen, and then let me do the whole thing so you can see. All right, so hopefully you'll be able to see pretty soon my screen here. Turn off the banner. Thank you. I always forget the banner. So let's turn off the banner. All right, there we go. Turned off the banner. Is everybody do I get everything this time? All right. So hopefully you'll be able to see everything pretty soon. Give me a second to find my software here. So I'm going to open up Toolshed Embroidery and Perfect Embroidery Pro. So, oh yeah, you don't have to see me. You can you hear me okay? Is everybody hearing me all right? Hopefully everybody's hearing me okay. Hi, Marcia. Hi, Judy. Lynn's here. Jan's here. Fair isn't until the 11th. Oh, it's not this week. It's the following week. Oh, okay. It's not this week. It's the following week. Okay. Hi, Marianne. Everybody's hearing me okay? All right. So, of course, when we open up our software, we get the My Inspiration Today screen. And usually at this point, what I do is I go down and I just click, create a new design. And then, of course, right now there must be a new update. So I'm just going to tell it no at this point because I didn't realize there was a new update. It must have just happened recently. So because I was just in here using the software the other day. So I'm just going to click no for now, and I'll go back and do it later. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up just a little bit so you can see above the little StreamYard thing. Okay. From Florida. Hi, Beverly. I bet, is it hot in Florida? I haven't been to Florida for a long time. All right. So we opened a new design. We have our main screen. Fair in Davenport. Oh, the Davenport. Yeah, that fair is going on this week. Yeah, I forgot about that. Update just happened yesterday. Okay. Yeah, I haven't opened it since yesterday. Lana, it's been a couple of days. So, all right, I'll do that after class. So, okay, so we opened our design up. We opened our software. I am in. So if you're not sure what software you're in, like I have multiple softwares. So if you want to, I always tell people, make sure you check so that you're in the right software. So if you go down here at the bottom and where it says purchases, it looks like a little shopping cart. And if you look down your list, anything you own is going to have a yellow check mark in front of it. Okay. So like I own a lot of these. There's a few I don't, but I want to make sure that my Perfect Embroidery Pro is my default. So you can tell that it's the default if you click the little options or the little three little dots next to it. And if it doesn't say make default, it is the default. Okay. And I think they also, it may highlight it because I've forgotten. Maybe it does highlight it. Let's check it. Let's change it and see if it does. So I'm just going to make Word Art and Stitches default for a moment. Yeah. So see, now they've got that in there. I didn't realize they had changed it so that it actually highlights it in blue, the one that you have as your main defaulted screen. Okay. So I can go back and forth. So like now I can hit the little buttons again and make Perfect Embroidery Pro default. Cool. So they started making it highlighted. So that's nice. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to draw over our little gingerbread man picture. And so this is a backdrop. So we're going to open a backdrop so that we can draw over the top of it. So I'm going to hit my little, the backdrop tools over on the left-hand toolbar about halfway down. It looks like a piece of, like a picture with a little corner turned in. You click on there, and then it's going to open up your, a saving box, or an open box, I should say. And we're going to go down. I have a folder on my desktop right now. So I'm just going to click desktop, and I'm going to go to Puffy Felt Christmas Ornaments. That's where I have it. And there's my little graphic of my little gingerbread man. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the gingerbread man, and I'm going to click open. So now I have just a picture on my screen of what we're going to draw over. Now, if you look over in the properties box, which is over towards the right, okay, right now it tells you how big that backdrop is. Now, if you look closely, it says it's very small. It's like 0.83 inches wide and 1 inch tall. So that's a little small. So we're going to make it bigger. And what I did is I just changed the size to 6 inches tall. So I'm just going to highlight the height and just type in 6.0 and click apply. And we're just going to make it bigger. So it got real big on my screen. I'll fix that in a second. And then I'm going to lighten it up a little bit so that it isn't quite so dark. You can kind of see where I'm drawing better. So you can adjust the lightness. And right now it's darker. So I'm just going to move it towards the lighter, the little slider thing, and click apply one more time. And that way it'll just be a little lighter so you can kind of see where you're drawing better. Okay. At this point, obviously we can't see the gingerbread man. So I'm going to go up to my zoom up here at the top, and I'm going to click on the little arrow, and I'm going to go to fit. So then we'll be able to see the little picture of the gingerbread man. Okay. So that is bringing in a backdrop. So I use backdrops a lot because I'm a very poor drawer, and I like to draw. I like to draw with something that has got a good shape to it. So I usually trace pictures like this. Okay. So I had to kind of think through, how we were going to do this. And the first thing that we need is the placement line for the foam, because you're going to put the foam, you're going to put a piece of, I think I used, let me see what kind of stabilizer I used. I forgot. I just used tearaway stabilizer. I think you could use wash away also, but I just used tearaway for these because it made it a little bit stiffer. I don't like to dip things, so I used tearaway. And so that's all I put in my hoop. And then the first thing I need is a placement line to know where to put that foam, because that foam is what's going to give it the stiffness also. Okay, so we're gonna work on that placement line. So obviously we need to do a little drawing. So I'm going to go up here to my artwork tool. It's the little pen. It looks like a pencil, a circle, and a square. I'm going to click on the little arrow right next to it. And I'm going to come down to the word pen, because I'm just going to do some drawing tonight. And then we're just going to trace around the little gingerbread man. So I'm going to bring this up just a little bit. So I grabbed my zoom tool, the little spyglass over here, made it just a little bit bigger on the screen. And we're going to go ahead and just draw around our gingerbread man. So when you're drawing, most of this, as you can see, is pretty curvy. So I'm going to be holding my control key down quite a bit. If I let it up, I'll let you know. So I'm just going to start. It doesn't matter where you start. I think I'm just going to start up here kind of on the side of his head. And I'm going to click. Now, I do not have my control key down yet. I am going to put it down now. Putting the control key down gives you curves. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start clicking around his head and get down towards the neck. Now, I think I am going to let go of my control key into this neck just to make sure I don't have a really curvy line in there, because you have to kind of go back the other way. So I let go, and now I'm going to put it back down again when I go around his arm. And we may have to fix that. It's not quite the way I want it yet. So we can go back and fix it. Okay, so we're just going to kind of go around here. Now this is less curvy down here. So I've still got my control key down. And so you can see that it's curving around these lines. And I'm just keep going. We're going to go all the way around the little gingerbread man. And by the way, this is how I also did the red work for the quilt. So I'm going to let go of my key now, my control key, it's kind of a little less curvy here. So let's make a straight one there. And then I'm going to put my control key back down again. So I just kind of went around. Let's see here. Let's keep it going. And this is pretty open, so I'm just going to leave my control key down. I want curves here. And I might have been able to leave my curve. Let's try leaving the control key down in his neck this time. And then we may have to fix the other one, but I can show you how we can fix that. That actually might look better. Let's see here. Yeah, I think that looked better. Okay. So I've still got my control key down, but I am going to let it up now when I go to connect to these two dots, and I'm going to go click right on top of the other dot. And if it's not quite connected, we can fix that also. And then I right click to finish. So when I say click, I mean left. Okay. When I right click, I will say right. But if I just say click, I mean that is the left click button. Okay. So I've gone all the way around. Not real happy with where I left this this squared area over here. So let's go ahead and fix this. So if there's something you need to fix, go over here to your shape tool. Okay. And then I'm going to zoom in to this area so I can work with it. I want to go get my little zoom tool, and I'm just going to kind of zoom into this area right here so I can see what I'm doing. So you can see it doesn't look very pretty. Okay. So what you can do is if you select that point, because that's the one where I let go of the control key, I can select it. I clicked on it first, and now I'm going to right click on it. And this little menu comes up, and one of the options it gives me is smooth. So it's gonna add like the handles so that I can curve this out better. And so I'm just going to click smooth and see what happens. And look, that looks much better. I'm going to click enter, but see how much prettier that looks. Okay, so it looks just a little weird yet. If you click the next one over, I've got all these little handles. Can you see the little blue handles that kind of stick up? So then those will allow me to kind of reorient my line. And I'm going to click the one over here. And I think this one needs to just kind of be moved up a little bit. So let's see what that looks like. And then I'm going to click enter. That looks much better. All right, so let's see. This one here looks a little wonky over here too. So let's go see. Let's go click this one. I think it's this one that looks wonky. Let's pull that down a little bit. I think that looks better. And let's go down at that other one at the bottom where I took the control key off, and maybe that one does. See that one doesn't look very pretty down here either. So we'll play with this one a little bit. I'm going to click on the one that I let up my control key. I clicked on it, and I'm going to right click on it to get that little menu, and I'm going to smooth it and see what happens. That looks much better. So let's see if we can fix that a little bit more. Let's pull this way. Maybe pull this one this way. Those little handles sometimes, if you need those, I'm going to click enter and see. Oh, that looks much better. So I see I could have left my control key down there, and it would have been fine. Okay. Sometimes when they're really narrow like that, sometimes it doesn't work as well. So, I could fix it. And this is how you get your drawings to look really nice. So see, here's a little, wonky spot up here. So let's see, this looks a little weird. So we'll just pull these in a little bit. So I spend a lot of time with my shape tool because then I can get these lines to look beautiful. Okay. So I'm going to move that little handle. So it kind of changes the angle of my curve then. That looks much better. All right, so let's go put this to fit so we can kind of look at it. I think that looks pretty good. Now I want to look at where I started and stopped. So sometimes when you start and stop in an area, they don't actually line up. And sometimes then things don't connect very well. So I'm just going to zoom in to that spot. So I know it was right up here. Okay. And you can see the red and the green dot kind of up there. Could go in a little bit further. So there we go. All right. So I'm going to go get my shape tool again. Now, if you look real close, if you look very close, the green and the red dot are not like touching each other. So I'm going to select both of them by just kind of dragging. Whoops, I clicked off of them just a second here. Okay. I'm going to select both of those little nodes, and that one's green and one's red. And I've got two little squares there. And if I click on one of those, I selected them both. Now I'm going to right click on one of them. See how I have this little button down here that says align? So I'm going to align these to the left. Let's see how that happens. I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. Ooh, and I think that looks better. Might not be quite aligned yet, so let's select them again. Let's right click one more time, and then maybe align. No, see, align is gone. So that means that they're aligned. If the align does not come up, they're actually pretty well aligned. So I don't have to fix it. Sometimes I have to go like to the left and to the top or the bottom just to get the little points lined up so that they look better. But I think we did well with that one. Okay. All right, so let's see here. Let's go back to fit. To fit. That looks much better. Okay, so now we need to make this. So right now what this is a piece of artwork. So if I look down here, let's go down and look at, right now we're looking at purchases. We don't want to look at purchases right now. We want to look at the sequence view. So I'm going to click on my little sequence view button. And the first color here, okay, if I click on the little plus sign, it says that it is artwork. Okay, so that's not going to sew. It's just artwork. Okay. So I am going to select him again. I'm going to go over here and get my selection tool because I still have my shape tool. He's selected. And then I'm going to right click on him. I'm going to convert to, and I want him to be a run stitch. He just needs to be a run stitch because it's going to be the placement line for the foam. So I'm going to click run. Okay. And then if I look at my properties box up here, this is where I can change things that I need to. I would like the length of the stitch to be shorter. Right now it's kind of long, so we're going to make it 2.5 millimeters. And I want it to be standard. So in other words, just a single stitch line around that's going to show me where to put the foam. Okay, so that looks good. I'm going to click apply. So now if I look underneath the first color and the little plus sign, it says it's a run. And if I click on the run up at the top here in the properties box, it says it's 2.5 millimeters and standard. Okay, so it's just a single line and it's 2.5 millimeters long. Okay. So now we're ready to lay our foam down. A second, I needed a drink. We're going to lay our foam down in the hoop now. And of course, the next line is going to be the tack down line. Okay. So I am going to go ahead and I've got him, this first line selected. We're done drawing. We've got most of, well, we're not done, but we're done with this part. So I'm going to copy the first line. So I have it selected. I'm just going to go up and I'm going to hit the little copy button up here at the top, on the top toolbar, copy and paste. Okay, so now if you look in the properties or the sequence view, it has 2 runs. And I'm going to go ahead and change that color to color number 2 down here. I'm just going to right click on the number 2 color box at the bottom. Okay, and now I have color number 1 and color number 2 over here. And this one though, since it's going to be a tack down line, I want this one to be a different type of stitch. I want it to be a 2-ply because I want it to go around twice. So I have something a little bit firmer to trim around. Okay. So I'm going to go up here. I've got the second one selected in my sequence view. Okay. And I'm going to use 2.5 still for the length, but I want the type to be 2-ply. So we're going to click 2-ply and then I'm going to click apply. All right. So now we've got the first placement line is a standard and the second line, which is going to be the tack down line for the foam, is 2-ply. So we have the first 2 steps. Okay. All right. So now we need another placement line for the felt. So we got our foam in there. We've got it tacked down and then we're going to trim it close to the stitches. Okay. Then the next step is going to be a placement line for the felt, to put the felt down. So I'm going to go ahead and we don't have to draw it again because we've already got it, but this is going to be one of those little things. We're going to make an outline because I want it to be just a little bit outside of what we've just done. So I'm going to select step number 1 Okay. And then I'm going to right click and choose utility. So I've got the number 1 step chosen over here. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go down to utility, create an outline. Okay. And then we can choose the distance. You can make it go inside or outside. So I'm going to do outside because I want it to be bigger. And you can choose how many times. So like if you wanted it to be 6 times, you could be 6 times the same distance apart. But in this case, I just want 1. Okay. And I would like this distance to be 0.15. So I'm going to type in 0.15. It's not quite a quarter. It's about 1/8 of an inch roughly. Okay. So then I'm going to click OK. 1 repeat. Okay. So now we have our little, we have our first line, you know, the placement line, the tack down line. And now we have this third one that is about 1/8 of an inch bigger than the original line all the way around our little gingerbread man. Okay. Now I want this one, and you can see that it's down the third piece here. And I would like it to be color number 3. So I'm going to go down. I've got it selected. I'm going to right click on color number 3. And if I look under here, it says, oh, it's artwork. Well, we need to make it obviously into some stitches. So I'm going to select that step, my artwork, and I'm going to right click on it. And I'm going to convert to a run because it needs to be a run too. And I want this one, it's a placement line again. So I want it to be 2.5 for the length up here in my properties box. And I also want it to be standard. And I'm going to click apply. Okay. So now if I look underneath the third step, it says it's a run. And if I look in my properties box, it says it's a standard at 2.5 millimeters. Okay. So that's the felt placement line. So then of course we'd lay our felt in there. And I'm just going to, the first one is just going to be, I think I wrote, let's see, did I put them both in there at that same time? I don't think I did. I didn't. I think I just put the first piece in, the top piece in, because then then I put the back on at the end. Okay. So yeah, so I just put the top felt on. I wrote that in the sewing instructions. Let me look at it quickly here. Make sure I remember what I did here. This is step number 3. Lay 1 piece of felt over the placement line. Okay. And felt tack down line is next. So now we need to do step number 4. So give me a second here to turn my page. Okay. So this is going to be the tack down line for the felt that's going to hold it in place while we're doing some of the other sewing. Okay. So the felt tack down line, the final trimming line. So this is also going to be a trimming line at the end to help you trim it out of the hoop. Okay. So it's just going to be a standard. So it's not, we're not actually going to see this. It's going to be gone when after you trim your little guy out of the hoop. Okay. So we do need another one though. So I'm going to select step number 3, which is the one that's the larger one. Okay. I've got it selected. I'm going to go back up here to the top and I'm going to copy and then I'm going to paste it again. I like to use the copy paste buttons at the top here. Okay. And now I've got 2 of them down there, but I need this one to be a different color. So this one here, okay, is selected. I'm going to go ahead and go down to the bottom and choose color number 4 so that it'll be a different color and the machine will stop in between. Let's check our settings up here in the properties box. The stitch length is going to be 2.5 and the type is going to be standard. Okay, so that's already set. We're good with that. Okay. All right. So now we're ready to put in all the cute stuff in here. So I need to have we're going to do a little bit more drawing. let's go ahead. We're going to use just some different tools this time. So I want to draw in the little icing lines. Okay. So let's see. Did I do his? Yeah, I did his hairs. I'm just looking to see what I did in which order here. Okay. So we'll do the icing lines first. That's going to be on his little hands and legs here. Okay. So let's zoom in again. Let's go grab the zoom tool here, and we'll get a little bit bigger on this side so we can see what we're doing. And I'm going to use the steel tool. So the steel tool is going to be like a satin stitch, straight satin stitch line. So I'm going to grab the steel tool, which looks like the backwards S up here. Okay. And I am going to trace along these little icing lines on his. So I'm going to start like right where the inside line is here. So I'm going to kind of start right on that first line we drew. Okay. And I'm going to put down my control key so it's curly, or it's curvy. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of go along these curves here. And it doesn't have to be perfect because this is still going to look really good. Okay. And I'm going to go down to the bottom right where we stopped. Where that, our first line was, and I'm going to right click to finish. Okay. So this one looks a little weird. So we'll go get our shape tool and let's see if we can kind of get this one. Whoops. Sometimes you got to pull the little stop point out. And let's see here. This one could stand to have a little bit of wiggling around there. That looks better. Okay. All right, so there's one of the little pieces of icing. So let's go over to the other side here. Let's go get his other hand. I'll go get my steel tool again. And we're going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to kind of start on that first line we drew. Okay. And I'm going to hold my control key down. And I'm just kind of clicking in there's the first loop. And then I'm going to up to the second loop. And then I'm kind of going down to the next loop. Okay. So I'm just kind of clicking around, but I'm leaving my control key down, and I'm just kind of clicking down right through the center of those two things. And then I'm going to stop where the first line was and let go. And then I'm going to right click to finish it. Ooh, that one looks better. I did better on that one. So let's go down to the legs here. Let's do his legs. Do the same thing. Start where where our first drawing line was. I'm going to click, and then I'm going to hold my control key down, and I'm just kind of going down right through the center of this little icing area. I'm going to put the little pieces. I'm just putting a few more nodes in there. It seems to work better. Okay, so I'm going to stop on this end, and then I'm going to right click to finish it. It looks pretty good. Okay, let's go over to the other side here. We'll do this one. So start up here. I'm going to hold my control key down and click around the little icing. And like I said, it doesn't have to be exact because it's going to look really, it's going to be very kind of free form anyway. Okay. Could you copy and paste on the arms and legs? Meaning, oh, you might be able to, Lynn, but they weren't really symmetrical. And then you probably wouldn't want it to look exactly the same on both arms and both legs. But yeah, you might be able to. I just drew all four of them because they didn't look exactly the same. Because often, when you're putting icing on the cookies, it doesn't end up being the same. Anyway, so, okay. So I think we got all four of those on there. I right click to finish. Okay, so let's go back to fit here. So you can see all four of them. So there's our four little icings. Okay, and they're down here in this next step. So I'm going to select all of them. And I want these to be 2.5 millimeters wide. So I think that's kind of the default. It is. So 2.5 millimeters. And so I'm happy with that. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to color number 5 so that the machine stops in between here. So I'm just going to right click on the box number 5. All right. So he's going to have yellow icing right now. Why aren't you going to the outside outline? Okay. So Lynn, this outside outline here is going to be where the cutting line is. So we're actually going to sew it together on the inside line. So that's why I made it on the inside line. Okay. Does that make sense to you? Oh, I'm sorry. That was Denise instead of Lynn. So this line, the line I stopped at, Denise, is where we're going to put the final sewing line. So that's going to be where we're going to stop. And then the rest of it's just going to be cut off. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Okay. So there's our little icing line. So now we need to put some, let's go ahead and make some little heart buttons. So he has little heart buttons on here. And this software has some really cool little tools that have shapes. So if you go back up to the artwork tool, let's make these a little bigger so you can see what we're doing here. Zoom in on these little hearts. If you go up to the little artwork tool, it looks like, the pencil and the square and the circle. If you click on the little arrow, they have a heart. So we're going to use the little heart. And I'm going to draw a heart that looks pretty close to these two hearts. So I'm just going to kind of hold my mouse button down, my left mouse button, and I'm just going to kind of drag from the top left to the bottom right and see if I can find a size that's about that size. And I'm going to select it, and I'm going to pull it down and see if I've got it about the right size. I might pull it up just a little bit bigger. Okay. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it again, and we'll draw the other one. It's smaller, so let's just draw the other one. Go back and get my heart. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to pull down and make the heart about the same size as that one. Okay. And select it with my selection tool. And then I'm going to pull it down over my heart. There. Those look pretty good. Okay. I'm going to select them in my sequence view, the two hearts. I'm going to right click on them and make them color number 6. So often when I do digitize, I often just go colors 1 through whatever. It doesn't matter what colors they are. See, I did a lot of these. I did it in red, white, black, and then kind of the brown for the outlines. So it doesn't matter what color you digitize it in. It can be any color. So, okay. So I've got it in color number 6. And sometimes this just helps me know what step I'm on if I just make it in color order. So it doesn't matter. All right. So convert to. Now these, I want these to be a fill stitch because I made them like buttons. So I'm going to right click on these since they're both selected at the same time. I'm going to right click on them, convert to a complex fill. And now that's going to fill them. And if I look up here in my properties box now, I am going to just use the standard, which is called tatami. It's a nice smooth fill. These are very small. I mean, they look big on the screen right now, but they're probably about 1/4 of an inch across. They're very small. And then I'm going to make my stitch length a little bit shorter. I'm going to make it 2.5 because it is so small. I thought if the stitches were a little denser, it would be filled a little bit better for that small area. So I'm just going to click apply. Okay, for that. All right, so if I go over here to my realistic preview, now we can see that. So I'm just going to hit the little realistic preview, and then you can see my little buttons there, and you can see the little icing on the side that we did. Okay. Now I didn't do too well with this piece of icing, so I'm just going to fix it real quick. So I'll select my icing here and see how I kind of got it kind of weird. So let's see if we can fix this. I didn't do too well with that one, did I? Might actually put another node in there. So if I move this up and I right click on the line, I can actually put another node in there. I can add a point, which is nice because then sometimes you can just kind of move it around and get it going the right direction for you. Because mine was kind of heading the wrong way and it just needed a little reorientation. So let's just kind of get that and hit enter. Oh, that looks much better. Okay. And we'll bring the red ball, the little red circle. That means that's where it stops. So that looks much better. Let's take a look at the other one over here. Did I do okay? I think I did okay on that one. But that little tool is your friend, let me tell you. The shape tool is your friend. It looks pretty good. Okay, let's see how this one is. Sometimes I have a little trouble at the endings, but it looks pretty good. Okay, so I got those. Got our heart buttons. Let's go look at the buttons again. So there's our heart buttons. Okay, so now we need to give him a face. So let's go up and give him a face. I'm going to use a different tool this time. So I'll stay zoomed in so you can see it. And I'm going to give him a mouth. So the mouth is just this part. And then we'll do the, I'm just going to trace his smile, and I'm going to go up under the cheeks just a little ways so that there's a little bit up underneath, because we'll make those a fill. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to go get my run tool. So let's use the run tool this time. Get my selection tool, and then I can go up at the top. The run tool is the plain line that looks like a backwards S. So we'll use that. And I'm just going to go kind of up under the little cheek area here, just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to click there. I'm going to hold my control key down because, you know, this is a curve. And we're just going to click around his little smile. Okay. And up underneath the other cheek, just a little bit. Okay. And right click to finish. So there's his little mouth. And let's see, I right click to finish. Okay, so let's go ahead and select that. And I'm going to go over here to my properties box, and I'm going to make the length shorter because that is a very small line. And that's one thing I had to fix. I had to fix a couple of lines because I hadn't made them small enough. And so we're going to make it 2.0. Very short stitches because it's not a very big area, so it's nice and curved. And then I'm going to make it a bean stitch, which is going to be like a triple stitch, and it's going to make it more dense so you can see it better. Okay, click apply. And then I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to make this color number 7. So I've got it selected yet. We'll just make it color number 7. Okay, and it's a bean stitch. So that's his mouth. So we need to do his hair. We're going to use the same tool for his hair. So let's do the same thing with his hair. So we're going to go up here so you can see his hair. I've got my run tool. Okay, got the run tool. We're going to start down here on his little curl here. And I'm going to click, and then I'm going to hold my control key because this is all going to be curved. And I'm just going to follow the little curve of his hair. Whoops, I missed. So I got to start over again. Every now and then I get too close to the right side of my mouse pad. Sorry. And then it right clicks on me prematurely. All right. So I've got my control key down, running around his little hair here. Just keep clicking. Down here. This is fun. This is fun. And this is how I digitize. I mean, just do one little piece at a time. And then I'm going to let go down here, and then I'm going to right click. That looks pretty good. Okay. And I'm not sure that I like, it looks pretty good though. Let's pull this over a little bit. It looks just a little bit squared off there. So let's just pull this over. Got my shape tool. That's how you fix things. You know, things sometimes just need to be fixed. Somehow I did something really wonky here. What the heck did I do? I don't know what I did here. Let's see what I did. I think I have an extra. Do I have an I had an extra piece of, I don't know what I did. So anyway, here's this. And I'm not sure what I do. Put it back in there so I can fix it. Okay. So here's, no. What did I do? I did something weird over here. I don't know what it is, guys. All right, let's see. Yeah, it's okay. And then let's see. This is not looking very good. We need to go down here a little bit. I think I'm just going to leave it right here because it's being troublesome. Let's see. Every now and then I have trouble with these little handles not cooperating for me. So there we go. I just hit my control key or my enter key, sorry. So I'm still having a little trouble with this. It's not wanting to be curved for me. There. Okay. I think we got it fixed. It's not too bad. And remember, when we go down and it's smaller, it's going to look a lot different than it does when it's blown up like 288%. Okay, so there's his little hair. So we're going to select his hair with the selection tool, and we need to do some settings here also. So I want my length. Oh, I forgot to write this in here too. Let me write it in my notes. Could you add a point? I could have added a point, but Lynn, it's so small. If I would have added a point, I don't know. I think it might have been worse. So that's why I didn't add one. I'm going to put this in as a bean. I forgot to write that in my notes. So I'm going to go back up here and we're going to put another small stitch in here, 2.0. And I'm going to put in bean for his hair so you can see it. Otherwise, it kind of sank in a little bit to the felt. So I thought that looked better. So I'm going to make it a bean. And I'm going to click apply. And then that's going to be color number 8. So he's going to have purple hair right now. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's put this down to fit so you can see what it looks like. See how we are too so far. And I've got the realistic preview on over here so you can kind of see where we're at. So, okay, so he's got a little smile and he's got his hair, got his icing and his little buttons. And now I think the next thing is going to be his cheeks. So they also have a tool in the artwork tool that is a circle. They call it an ellipse. So it's a circle. Okay. And we're going to use that to do his eyeballs and his little cheeks. So let's go ahead and zoom into his face again so we can make him bigger. And then we are going to go up here to the artwork tool again, click on the little arrow, and then find the ellipse, which is the circle. Okay. Now to make a perfect circle, you want to hold down your control key. If you don't hold your control key down, it's going to be, all kinds of different shapes. Okay. It won't be a perfect circle. So I want a perfect circle. So I'm going to hold my control key down and just draw a circle. Okay. That's approximately the size of his cheek. Okay. And I've got it sized, and I'm going to go ahead and select it, bring it down here. How did I do it? It could be a little bit bigger. So we'll just kind of get it just a hair bigger. Okay. Like that. And then I'm going to copy and paste that so that the other one is the same. So I've got it selected. I'm going to hit the copy button and the paste button. And then I'm going to grab the second one and I'm going to pull it over to his other cheek. Okay, so we got them both over there, and these are still artwork. So now we need to make them into something else. So I want to choose them both at the same time. I'm going to go down to my sequence view, and I'm going to select the last things we did so that both of the cheeks are selected at the same time. I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to convert to complex fill. Okay, so there's my complex fills. And I think it looks pretty good. Again, this is a very small little circle. So we're going to leave tatami, which is fine, but I am going to make the stitch length just a little bit shorter. We'll make it 2.5 instead of 3.5. And click apply. Okay, so there's his little cheeks. And I think, I might have forgotten. I want that to be color number 10. I think this was step number 10, isn't it? Or is it step number 9? Might actually be, his cheeks are number 9. So we're going to make this number 9. So I'm going to right click on color number 9. Okay, so there is his cheeks. So we now need to finish the eyes. So we're going to do the eyes with the same tool. Okay, so I'm going to go back up and get my ellipse tool. Yep. Thank you, Cindy. I got too far in my notes here. So we're going to go do his eyes. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold my control key down and I'm going to draw a circle that is approximately the size of his eye. Okay. Now I did not put the highlights in his eyes because they are approximately 1/8 of an inch. So they're very small. So he doesn't have any highlights in his eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this down, and they could be just a smidge bigger. So let's make this one just a smidge bigger. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy and paste it. So I have the first one selected. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it and I'm going to pull it over to his other eyeball. So his eyes are the same size. Okay. Got to get them where we want them. I think this one needs to go up just a little bit. And if you want to, the other thing you can do, it's kind of cool. You can select both of the little outlines and then you can use the little aligning tools up here. So like up here where all these little kind of like yellow or gold colored things, the selection tool that would be the one we want would be the vertical center align. So I'm going to click that so that that his eyeballs are in the same, you know, they're vertical to each other. They're aligned. Okay. And then I'm going to make these also into a complex fill. So they're both selected now. So I'm just going to right click, convert to a complex fill. And then I'm going to do the same thing with these. The tatami was fine. I'm going to make the stitch length a little shorter since it's such a small area, and then click apply. Okay, so there is, let's go down to, and oh, this one is step number 10. So we need to change the color to step number 10. There we go, step number 10. Okay. And I'm going to go to fit so you can see the whole thing. So there he is with his little eyes. He has kind of funny colors on him right now, but sometimes it's easier for me to see the steps if I do them all each individual colors. That's why I do it that way. Okay. So now the last step that we need is a tack down line that's going to sew the front and the back together. Okay. So at this point I would then, you know, take the hoop out of the machine, turn it over, put the back piece of felt on the back before we do this last step. Okay. So the final tack down is going to be the same as the first one we did. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and look in my sequence view over here, and I'm going to select the first thing we did. So that's the inside line. And I'm going to copy that. So I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to paste it. Okay. So there is the second one. All right. But I don't want, and I want that to be color number 11. So this is going to be actually step number 11. So let's go ahead. We've got the second one selected over here. It's in the sequence view, but it's now there's two runs together and we need the second one. Okay. If you're going to do the bow, would you do the same method, artwork run? Yes. But what I did, Lynn, is I put a bow with some twine on it. I just thought he needed a little dimension. So I actually put a bow. I made a bow to put on him instead of digitizing it. I thought he needed a little bit of dimension on him. So, okay. So I'm going to go, I've got the second run over here. I'm going to make that color number 11. And then I need to move that to the bottom. All right, so I'm going to grab that color and I'm going to close these all up. If I close all the little negative signs up, there's not so many things. And I'm going to hold on to the second thing, which is color number 11. And then I'm going to pull it all the way to the bottom. I've grabbed it and I'm going to let go on the last thing. And then number 11 now is at the bottom because this is the last thing we're going to sew out. But it was the same as the first step. So that's why I copied and pasted that so I didn't have to draw it again. And it's exactly the same size. So we moved it to the bottom. So it's right here, color number 11. Then I'm going to change the length of this one to 3.0. So I've got it selected yet. I'm going to make it, it is a run stitch, but I'm going to make it 3.0, and I'm going to also make this one a bean stitch because I want it to be a triple stitch to go around the outside edge. but it just needed to be a little bit longer for this final step. And then I'm going to click apply. Okay. So we have our 11 colors over here. So 11 different steps. Then I'm going to, let's just turn off the background tool, the backdrop, so you can kind of see it better what we're doing. I'm going to go over here to turn the backdrop off. You just go down here to the bottom. There's a backdrop tool up here that opens it. And to turn it off, it's right here. It's this blue one. I'm just going to click that and it's going to turn it off. To turn it back on again, you click the one in that's kind of in the middle of the side toolbar. Okay. So you can turn it on and off. And it's nice to turn it off. Then you can kind of see where you're going and what things look like. Okay. Now, the only thing that I found is that he's still kind of small. So when I looked at him, I wanted him a little bit bigger. And the width is 3.41 right now, and his height's only 4, a little over 4 1/4. So what I'm going to do just to make sure that he's the size I want him, I'm going to go ahead and go edit, select all. And then I'm going to go to transform up here in my properties box. You might have to use the little arrow up here and move over. Okay. And also, just so you know, if your software looks different than mine and doesn't have these words, this is something I often forget to tell people. I can read a lot faster than I can hover over an icon. And so if you go to the tools menu over here, and down to general options, and then go into view, you can deselect the show property tabs as icons, because I don't like icons. It takes me much longer to hover over an icon to know what it is than it does for me to just read the word. So I always deselect that when I install my software. Sometimes I have to go deselect it again after an upgrade. You know, when you have an update to it, sometimes I have to do it again. But I just don't like to have, I don't like icons. So I like to be able to read the words. So anyway, I'm going to go to the transform tab because I can read that very quickly. And I'm going to make him 5 inches tall because I wanted him to be about 5 inches tall. So you notice that my maintain aspect ratio is checked. So that means that the width is going to come up with the height in aspect ratio. So I'm just going to make him 5 inches tall. So I'm going to click 5.0 and I'm going to click apply. Then he's 5 inches tall and he ended up about 4 inches wide then. So I thought that was a nice size for an ornament. It wasn't too big, wasn't too small. Okay. Fits in a 5x7 hoop nicely. So, okay. Then I think we're done. This is the little ornament. So we're going to go ahead and save him. So let's go ahead to File, Save As. And I'm going to save him as Gingerbread Man. Gingerbread, see if I can spell tonight. Gingerbread Man. And I want to save him as a C2S. C2S is the working file for the Dime software. That way you can go back in, and if you need to fix something later, you can easily do that. So I'm just going to save it on my desktop right now. Save. And then I'm going to go to File, Save As. Now we need to have a stitch file. When do you put the hanger in? So I'm going to go through the sewing instructions, Jan. So before you put the back on, you'd also put your hanger on. So I'll go through the sewing instructions quickly here at the end. So, all right, then I'm going to go, but this time I want it to be a PES file. I'm going to choose PES version 9. Okay. Named the same, and I'm going to put it down on my desktop. Save. All right. So now I've got my 2 files. No, I don't, Lynn, because the way the machines read the colors now, they don't normally actually read the colors that you put in. The newer machines have a new way of reading colors, and they will not show up in the right colors. So no, I don't. In this case, it's so easy, and I'll put the camera back up so you can see him again. I just use white, red, and black wherever I want it. So no, I don't go back with this kind of simple stuff. I don't normally put the colors in. No. So, okay. So now this design is done. All right. So the first thing we would do, I have the sewing instructions written out for you. You have to cut a couple pieces of felt for the front and the back. I made them 5x6. There's a piece of that flex foam stuff that's 5x6. I cut a piece of ribbon, 7 inches, and my ribbon is a little wider. It's like a 5/8 inch ribbon, but you can use, any kind of ribbon you want. I made it 7 inches long, and then I folded it in half with the wrong sides together. And then I had a little piece of twine for his bow tie that was 8 inches long. Okay. So when you go to sew it, you're going to hoop, tearaway stabilizer in the hoop. I just used a standard tearaway in a 5x7 hoop. And then I sewed out step number 1. This was step number 1 over here. That is the placement line for the foam. And then I'm going to lay the foam down, and then you're going to sew out step number 2, which is going to tack the foam down to the stabilizer. Then you're going to trim your foam close to the stitches. Then you're going to sew out step number 3. So this is step number 3, one of the first bigger ones. That one will be your placement line for the felt. And it's also the trimming line. Okay. At the end, when we go to pull this out of the hoop, that will also be your trimming line to help you trim about 1/8 of an inch away. Okay. That is step number 3. Then you're going to, you lay your felt in. Okay. Lay your piece of felt over there. And then you're going to sew out step number 4, which is going to be the tack down line for the felt, the front of the felt, not the back. Just put the front on. And then it's going to stitch it down, but don't trim the felt. Just leave all the felt in there. Okay. And then we're going to do step number 5 is just going to be the icing. I made that in white. And then his little heart buttons, and I made those red. And then his little smile, and I made that in black. And his little hair, and I made that white. And then his cheeks, I made those red. And then his little eyeballs, and I made those black. Okay, so that is the sewing. And then before the next step, we're going to remove the hoop from the machine. You're going to turn it over to the back. You're going to fold your ribbon hanger in half with the wrong sides together. And I used some fabric glue stick to glue it together like along the raw edges. And then I'm going to place the raw edges of the hanger inside the foam line. So like inside the smaller line on the back of the hoop. Okay. And I glued it down. And then you're going to place the second piece of felt over the back. And I usually used glue sticks. So I glued my felt to the back of the hoop. Also, you can use tape if you prefer tape. Also tape the little hanger up so that it doesn't flop down and get caught in your stitching. Okay. So you have your little loop on the back of the hoop and your second piece of felt on the back of the hoop glued on. And then you're going to put it back in the machine, and we're going to stitch out number 11, which is going to be the final stitch out. It's a triple stitch around the inside. Okay. Then you're going to remove it from the hoop. And I removed the tearaway stabilizer from the seam line. I just pulled my tearaway out of the seam line. Okay. And then I trimmed it along this outside line. So I used this outside line that was my placement line for my tack down line for my felt to help me trim it about 1/8 of an inch away from my main stitching line. Okay. And then, but be careful, don't cut through your ribbon. You have to pull your ribbon down so you don't cut through your ribbon. So that little top about his head, you'll have to kind of work around the ribbon and trim it off, trim the front and trim the back. And then I added the little twine on his, for his bow tie. So give me a second here, and I have that all written out for you on a piece of paper that was in that download. So if you need it's all written out for you. Okay. So let me go ahead and stop the sharing, and I'll hold up the little guy here, and we'll look at him again here. Just a second. Okay. Hopefully you can see me. All right. So here he is. Okay. So just a second here. I got this really yellow light here. So if I turn this away, you can see him a little bit better. Okay. So here he is. Here's this little bow tie. And I made it out of the twine, and I just glued that on with glue stick. And see, I have the felt on the back, and here's his little ribbon tie. Okay, so that was on the back of the hoop, and this was on the back of the hoop. But just be careful when you're trimming. So like this line out here was basically that tack down stitch. And I just trimmed like just inside of it so that there's no stitching showing on the inside. And then when I got to the ribbon up here, I just kind of pulled it this way, and I did the front, and I pulled it this way and did the back. Okay, just one piece at a time. Isn't he cute? I thought he was cute. And you could do all kinds of different shapes with these. You know, just get creative and start doing them. They're so easy. And you do the same procedure to make any one that you wanted. I just like gingerbread men, so I made two different ones. I made two of them. Thought I'd take one to the store so people could see it. I'll keep one. Isn't that fun? So they were really fun, and they're very easy to sew out. They only take just a few minutes to stitch. And but if you have any questions about the instructions, like I said, this is the instruction page. I don't know if you can see it. I've got kind of a glare tonight. I'm sorry. I've got kind of a glare tonight. So this is the instruction page, and I have it all written out for you how to do it. It's very simple. As soon as you see it and the design, you'll have no problems at all. Okay, so it's really simple. Okay, so we have done Christmas in July. We made cards. We made, oh yeah, you could personalize them. You could do anything. You could add names to them. Yeah, anything you want to do. So, yep, that would be fun. You could even put the name up here instead of the little hair. You could put somebody's name up there. You could put the date, you know, like down on his little feet of the year you made them, you know, anything you want. You could put the personalization on the back and say Merry Christmas from Mom 2022, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, whatever you want to do, you could do some of that stuff. You know, if you wanted to personalize them on the back, you probably want to do that on the piece of felt first. Probably what I do is I just sew out like the placement line on the felt and take it out of a hoop. You have to do two hoopings, and then I could just put the words on the back, or you could put the words on the front. So yeah, you could do all kinds of different things with it. Yep, very fun little project. So we've done our Christmas in July. We made an ornament. We made cards last week. And then next week, we're going back to, can you believe it? The final month of the bench buddies. We've done these the whole year. This will be the last month. So that we've got 2 pillows left for the month of August, and they're really cute. One of them is a little paper piece one, and the other one is mostly sewn. So there's a little bit of applique in it, but it's really cute. So we'll have lots of fun finishing those up this in August, and then we're going to start the the Halloween pillow. So we're going to do Home is Where the Haunt Is. So that'll start in the middle of August, and we'll finish in September. So I'll be plenty of time for Halloween. So, okay. Are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions about the little guy here? He is cute. I had a lot of fun making this. So, because it was fun to digitize it a different way. Because, you know, when I did it before for the quilt, I just did it in red work. So I did this time I put fills and I put satin stitches, and it was really fun. So, but the same little guy that's in the quilt. So, okay. All right. So next week we will be doing the first August bench buddy at 6:00, and we will do the second bench buddy the following week. So, all righty. So if you don't have any questions, give me a call. If you have any, you can give me a call at the store. You can email me through Facebook. You can get me through YouTube. A lot of people send me questions through YouTube. And make sure you subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, go do that. It's Sew Along with Jan, just like the group. If you haven't subscribed, go subscribe, and then you'll get notifications and stuff. So, okay. So I'll see you next week, and we will make start our last month of the Bench Buddies. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.